got it.
Got it.
Just work, please. There we go.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Nerdy Up North podcast, a double feature for the weekend, second one of the weekend. It's the Nerdy Podcast hosted by two Northern nerds. I'm one of your hosts, Sam.
And I'm the other host, Paul.
And we're joined by Team Podcast Charlotte.
Again.
Yes.
We love having you here, Charlotte. I miss you when you're not here, Charlotte. I think I make that clear on everyone you're not on. You all right there, Paul?
Yeah, just my computer's just playing up, sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. I'll continue. So this week's episode is all about the best brothers, should I say? Best brothers on TV.
Let's just call it what it is. The most attractive brothers, shall we say?
Yes. The most attractive.
We're not going to sugarcoat it. I wouldn't say there's probably better brothers in TV. Like I would even go Fraser and Niles are better brothers. But the Winchesters are the ones everyone wants to fuck. So let's just
get it out there. Get it out there straight away. We're going all supernatural this week.
Yes.
As you can probably tell by the matching plaid shirts.
Yeah. I think Charlotte put a post up on earlier saying that she was going to wear the flannels, so we thought we'd join her in unison.
I didn't actually see it. I was always planning on wearing the check shirt.
Flannel was always going to come out, but yes, so we are going to delve into the supernatural realm, see what goes bump in the night, or with the amazing marketing campaign that ITV brought out when it first was released to try and get viewers in the UK. Scary gets sexy.
Oh, scary!
I forgot about that.
That was actually the tagline. Yep, that was the tagline for when they brought out Supernatural for UK audiences.
Yeah.
Fuck, did they get that wrong?
I did not know that.
Yes.
That's really cool. I'll get the boring bit out of the way with first.
Certainly.
Just so we can crack on with everything all supernatural. So everything discussed in tonight's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you want to discuss any topic from tonight's episode, please come and join us on the Facebook group and we can have an open discussion. What we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandoms and we can keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism. It's getting better. It really is.
Bless you.
I'll have it memorised soon.
It's because you're not saying toxicity out of fandom now.
Exactly.
You've changed that word.
Yeah. The minute you take that word out, I can actually talk.
So, wanted to do a special, like say, a double feature this weekend for a few different reasons. One, because Charlotte got out of jail. It was a hard 30 days for her, and wanted to celebrate the return of. I was going to say return of the Mac there. Nearly went all bit the Mac.
Can we just clarify for anyone who isn't part of our Facebook group and actually just listens to the podcast, Charlotte has not technically been in jail. She was in Facebook jail.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's quite the illusion. That
he's not done hard time.
It was hard for our trusters. It was hard. 30 days.
It was.
But yes, so we've got the return in Charlotte, and also as well, which we've just realised today, was the 1 year anniversary that we started up the Nerdy Up North community Facebook page. So it actually went live today, which the idea came out a few weeks ago, but today is the 1 year anniversary. So thanks guys for sticking with us basically and helping us grow, which is amazing. In true supernatural style, I'm going to do a little celebration because what always happens in the last episode of the Supernaturals, they always play a certain song.
Yes, they do.
So let's start it off then. So carry on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done.
No.
Lay your weary head to rest and don't you cry no more.
Don't you cry no more.
So yes, so I thought I'd play it out a little bit like that and just have a bit of fun with it because, to be honest, that's all Supernatural is. It is a bit of fun. It's cheesy as hell, but like I say, it got a bit of heart to it, I think. And that's
100%.
And again, I'm one of the biggest fans. I'm watching it again with my wife. We always go through a rotation, just simply because it's entertainment. It's like, as I said, there's not many like horror TV shows out there are this fun. they either take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
Fair play to Supernatural. They got 15 seasons. I still think it was 10 seasons too more. But again, we wouldn't have got such amazing characters that we did if we didn't get the full 15 seasons. But what a fucking journey it took us on down there. We definitely went down the road with them.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Charlotte looked like she was, when you said 10 seasons too long, Charlotte went,
9.
9.
I'll give you 9.
But yes, again, I remember watching this for the first time. I give it a pass when it first came out, just because of the whole Scary Got Sexy campaign when it was on ITV3, I believe.
Sorry.
Starting off now. But yeah, and I think I picked it up on DVD because I think it was on CEX. Like the first 3 seasons was going for like a fiver box set, and at the time box sets were quite expensive, and we weren't like full on Pirates of the North at the time. We weren't getting streaming and stuff like that. So I thought I'd give it a chance. And after the first, well, like I say, the first episode's great, and the first 2 seasons are absolutely brilliant. Some of the best work when it stays to quite an X-File formula, where it's like Monster of the Week. Stayed to urban legends, like also like not. I said not true legends because we don't know if these are real. It's what, like, say, myths and folklore that are out there, and they've just expanded on it, and it made it really interesting
with a biblical touch.
That was later.
That was a lot later.
That was later. That part didn't come in till, I would say, season.
I'd say about season 4 when the angels came into it.
Right.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to bear with us, people, because I have watched the first 10 seasons, but a very long time ago, and I'm only rewatching them again. And I'm up to season 3, and there's so much I can't remember. So you will have to bear with us. I am literally riding your coattails tonight.
Yeah, because like I say, the first couple of seasons, it was all about the yellow-eyed demon and the hunt for him, and like the plans he had for like Sam and the special kids, and like say all that aspects. Because it was quite. Well, I always thought it was entertaining all as it goes through, because demons were the big bad guys in the first one. Like demons weren't, as I said, it was in the first 2 episodes, Charlotte, if I'm wrong, that they said demon possessions don't happen that regularly.
Yeah, I picked up on that.
And then the strength, and then it happened all the time. And then like they had super strength as well, where one of the episodes he opened up one of them emergency plane doors.
That was the second ever episode.
It was.
It
was that episode where they said, "Oh, it can't be a demon. Demon possessions don't happen that often."
Lies, big fat lies, because that's all that's happening in season 3 at the moment. Nobody's went and opened up the gates of hell and let all the demons out. It'd be interesting to hear how Charlotte got into it.
Certainly.
So I've actually watched it from the very beginning, because I saw here we go. Because I saw House of Wax at the pictures with a friend,
right,
and thought, ooh, he's quite nice, and then found out he was in Supernatural, and it was Jared Padalecki.
Really, it wasn't Jensen Ackles? Sorry, I've not seen House of Wax.
When Supernatural first came out, I was a Sam girl through and through.
Wow, I did not see that coming. I thought it might have been Dean.
No, she wanted a bit of Moose, so don't worry.
Dean has aged better. Dean has aged much better.
To be fair, Dean hasn't fucking aged.
No, he hasn't. He's sleeping in there, carbonate him or something. He hasn't changed at all.
Yeah. So I found out about it, and it was every Sunday night on ITV2, I think it was.
Yeah, it was on.
It was. Know that.
And it was mine and my sister's thing, and we used to watch it every night on ITV2.
Yeah,
and we were so angry when it moved channels and it got replaced with the Vampire Diaries. And
but E4, I think E4 picked it up, didn't it? Like later on.
So it went to when it first moved from ITV, it went to Sky.
Right.
I think it went to Sky for about 2 seasons, and then E4 picked it up later on.
Good old E4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think E4 did the right thing though. They didn't just start off. I think they started off from the beginning. So
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
where the audience.
cool.
So that's where the audience kind of picked up on it. Like in the UK, I know, as I said, with any CW show, it's very hard to get cancelled with that network. As we found out with a lot of TV shows that went on and went on. But with this one, like they kind of give them anything they wanted as well. It was kind of like that freedom as well. Got a huge following in America. I think like America, it's absolutely massive. The UK is picking up now, as we found out in the Nerdy Up North Facebook page.
That was insane.
Everybody's been watching it.
Yeah.
Because it came on Amazon Prime, isn't it now?
Yeah, that's where I'm watching them now. Yeah. And I think that's where I initially watched them in the first place. Because I didn't join the party until 2000 and I want to say either 14 or 15. We were definitely in our first place. And Anth was telling he says, because I'm a huge Gilmore Girls fan, and he says, oh, the guy from Gilmore Girls is in it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And he says he'd watched the first season, and he says, I don't mind watching it again. It was so good. And I think we got up to like, we caught up to when it was coming out live, like as it was happening. And it's the first TV show I can hands down say 10 seasons, perfect. Absolutely perfect. I didn't find a fault until I started getting into the end of season 10, and I started to see the pattern. Yeah. And I was like, which brother's going to die now? Who's coming back? Who's and it just and we lost it, and I haven't seen from 11 to 15. Yeah,
I think that's again. Because we're going to talk about all the things we do love about, so might as well get these little things out of the way.
Oh yeah, get the niggly bits out of the way with.
I think as a show, it needed to have more balls. It didn't stay with its conviction too much. It was too scared of losing like main characters or losing the fans when certain characters died, but then it lost its impact a little bit because there was certain deaths all the way through, like losing Bobby the way we did. I know we'll catch up and stuff like that. Was absolutely heartbreaking. Charlie, we lost Charlie, which again was one of my all-time favorite characters as well.
That was such a controversy in America. They absolutely hated it.
And they kept bringing people back just because of this. Like I think the only person that stuck with the death was Crowley, and that was the most lackluster death that actually happened, and it was kind of like just a meh. And the character deserved so much, but I think he had a falling out with the producers or someone in behind the scenes.
Really? Mark Sheppard?
Because he didn't even get brought back. Well, and before we come back, we'll say we're going to leave the last season till last, and that will be spoilers because I know a few people haven't seen the last season yet. Yeah. But that was always a big surprise. But even the character who played Lucifer, how many times did he get brought back and changed and rectified? It was kind of
he was a great Lucifer though.
He was. But again, but I found it was a story that was just getting retold a lot.
But that's how I felt with Sam and Dean. Like it would have been more impactful if even for half a season they were gone.
Yeah.
But they weren't. It was on the same episode. They were gone and brought back.
After turn one of them bad, there was only a few episodes.
Yeah.
Like they didn't give you
there was no impact to it.
No. Completely agree.
I think it lost direction when Eric Kripke left.
Yeah.
Did he leave?
Yeah, he left.
Yeah.
And that's when it really lost direction.
Because then you've got it in the hands of people who don't understand.
Like there was writers and producers and stuff on the show that had been there since the very beginning, but without him, it just didn't feel the same. The writing wasn't the same. Like I think because especially like we've seen with The Boys now, like he has such a vision for anything he's involved in. Once he was gone, Supernatural, it was a little bit like a free for all. People, it kind of felt like writers were sort of fighting for attention, so it totally lost its way.
Because they built up one character and went, all right, just push him to one side and disappear and stuff. I think he left after season 6, though, wasn't it? Season 5 or 6. Because I think he left when Chuck done his little wink at the character, and you thought, like I said, that was
it was. Yeah, it was as far as the length of the shows went, it was quite early on.
Was it really? I didn't know that.
It was definitely still in single digits.
Yeah, because he had a vision that was only going to be 5 or 6 seasons, and you know the episode where Chuck does his little piece to the camera and he disappears, and you think, is Chuck God or is he not God? And you find out later he is. But that was supposed to be how Supernatural ended, the Kripke story. Then everything that came afterwards was other people's ideas or add-ons to what, because originally that storyline with him and the Yellow-Eyed Demon, that was all planned out, and that was how everything was supposed to be leading to and where it was going to go to and stuff.
Yeah, but I remember reading that Eric Kripke had a vision, and I can't remember which season it is now, but you know, the season where the last shot of the last episode is Sam in the white suit, and he's come back from hell, and he's either possessed or he's got no soul or something.
Yeah,
I think it's when Lucifer possesses him. That image was how Eric Kripke imagined the show ending.
Right.
Like just with that shot of Sam in the white suit watching Dean.
Yeah.
And then he carried on writing for a few more seasons, and then he was like, "Nah, I'm done."
It was the show that just kept on coming, didn't it? Like it just literally kept on coming. Because CW back in the like 2014s to like 17 was the place where you watched your telly. So I always used to watch the announcement of CW of who was renewed and who'd lost their show. Very little lost their show. And Supernatural, I was there.
Yeah,
I was there.
I think they were scared to end it though as well, because they didn't know how they wanted it to end. So I don't think, like, until they got to the point where I don't even know if it was the writers. I think it was like Sam or Jensen, or
it was Jensen and Jared that said that's it.
I'm literally just listening to the podcast I told you about with Michael Rosenblum. I think I'm saying that right. And I'm listening. So they did a Supernatural week, and it was literally just before they started filming the last season. And it's like different interviews with the cast. And I'm on Jared Paradicki. What did he call himself? Jared Paradicki. He's so into, the man is so intelligent, but he was saying like he sums up Supernatural ending and how he summed up the death of his dog. He said like literally
that's bringing the tone down.
No, this is what he said. He was like, his dog who he got in Gilmore Girls was on the verge of passing away, and he was like, he says my dog could go on as long as Supernatural can, and I think I need to end this. Like he was using his dog as the
dog's in
of
Supernatural.
He was like, my dog's nearly been around as long as Supernatural, actually before Supernatural, and he was like, I think this has gone on long enough now.
Yeah.
Such a good interview though. He's so like stupidly intelligent.
I think they're all quite interesting. Like say, especially like Jensen, when you see him doing, like, I can't believe how amazing he is at singing. Like his voice is absolutely beautiful. Like seriously,
I listen to it all day.
He's unreal. They've just done recent ones, the two of them, so these ones are like older ones, but they've done recent ones like in the last week with Michael, and he goes hell for leather on Jessica Alba. Like honestly, it's like he's got nothing holding him back anymore. So he just goes hellbound. Really need to listen to the podcast. It is so good.
Stop advertising other people's podcasts. God damn it. People are now switching off.
Listen to ours first. Listen to us,
and then go and listen to that.
Sam, come on, give us a break. but yes, going back to our podcast. And
my God, you mentioned one podcast and
yes, but like I say, as I was saying earlier about the first few seasons being some of my favourite, like say, episodes as well, just because, as I said, they stayed to the law. Some of the, like say, you've seen them in movies as well. They've done the whole Bloody Mary, which was done absolutely brilliantly. The Woman in White, which was heartbreaking as well. That aspects, like saying that, like they weren't scared to go there with people as well, like the kid in the lake.
That was horrible.
Yeah, but I think as well with a lot of the crossovers as well, they had a lot of characters used in like sci-fi or big shows around the time. Like they went like to the well for a lot of Buffy characters that came in and played bit parts or had cameos and stuff. But as I said, some of they went all out for the attractive. They used probably the hottest actors and actresses they could find.
Definitely.
And a lot of them went on to do other things as well. I know the last. Was it who plays Maggie out of The Walking Dead? She started out in Supernatural.
She did. Bella.
Bella,
She
yes.
does. She does have very
throughout that
weird.
whole.
She does have very weird English accent, doesn't she?
That's her actual accent.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
she's English.
It's so weird.
She's bilingual.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
like the John Barrowman of accents.
Yeah.
She can do both of them. And she intertwines them together as well. It's a really bizarre accent.
The girl who plays Jessica, the girl who plays Jess, Sam's girlfriend, ended up in the Orville with Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But
Is it Katie Cassidy?
Katie Cassidy, who
Yeah.
she was the original and the best, in my opinion, Ruby.
Yeah.
Love her as Ruby.
But that was always, again, not to harp on the disappointing aspects. I know, like we say, with Demons, that are given that part to change and chop and change our characters. Like there was some Rubies that were great, some Rubies that, and even the Meg characters as well. Some of the Meg characters, like the first Meg was brilliant.
Original Meg.
Yeah, and like absolutely.
We watched that the other day.
Yeah, and then they replaced them. But as I said before, with the Lucifer character as well, he had the same meat suit all the way through. And
yeah,
why didn't they do that with, like, say, them characters? That probably would have had a bit more impact. But I know certain actors wanted the wives and girlfriends to play certain roles as well, so that was part of it. But shall we say there was a lot of favoritism going on there.
Who?
But what's he called? Sam, I can't pronounce his name.
You met her there.
They met on there.
He was talking about it, that they met. She had absolutely zero interest in him, and he persevered and asked her out on a date, and he literally said, we went out on one date and we've never been apart since.
His ex-girlfriend is actually in one of the earlier episodes. She plays a Crossroads demon.
All right. Was it with the red eyes? Was it?
Yeah, she plays a Crossroad demon in one of the it was like before Crowley and stuff.
She looks older.
Actually, I think it's the I think she plays the Crossroad demon that they kill, that sort of births Crowley coming in as the Crossroads demon.
But talking about the Crossroad demon, that episode where they went back and you saw like the famous blues player and stuff like that, and the demon dogs.
My dad's favorite episode, because Robert Johnson is one of his favorite musicians ever, and that episode is the reason why my dad watches Supernatural.
Really?
Yeah,
that's so cool.
I like how they like brought that type of lore into it as well, and made it really interesting. Like even like things when they went into the mountains and brought the Windigo. I'm not going to pronounce it right. Winnebago. That is that not the thing that you're talking about? Windigo. That's what I was going to say. Winnebago. That's what
I thought that was a van.
That's what you said, Zavan. A Windigo is yes.
That's what I'm going to call it from now on. It's not a Windigo, it's a Winnebago.
But like I said, them type of episodes actually were like quite scary, and like the horror element like brought it quite deep in it as well. And even like the episode with the little witch who was eating the kids' souls. I think Kev talked about it last week.
We've just watched that one. That was the hand at the window. That was
just it's like every kid's nightmare and stuff like that. But you can tell at the time the budgeting wasn't there, because the film, because like the first season was shot, like the special effects wasn't great, but it was all done with like practical effects and stuff. But like
the tone of the series as well is weird. Like the actual, like the visual tone.
There's like a filter on it.
Yes,
yeah.
Because it's now starting to clear. It's starting to clear up. It's like the old version, the old Instagram filters. Remember them? They were awful. But it's now starting to clear up as I'm on season 3, and also starting to clear up is Sam's attitude. Holy hell! I didn't realize until I'm like rewatching them how much of a bitch Sam is. Like he's awful.
No, but that's always been the king, because he's always the fun sponge, and then Dean's like the party animal.
But I always knew that about Sam. Like he would take everything more seriously than what Dean does. But he bitches and moans so much.
But that's just Sam. Everyone's got a family member or a friend that is like that. So you kind of relate to it as well, because if they were both just jolly and happy about going on in the business. But
it's just infuriating.
I can't believe we haven't mentioned one of the biggest things in season 1.
The car.
Daddy Winchester.
Daddy Winchester.
I love Daddy Winchester.
Jeffrey.
Daddy Winchester was my big dad crush.
Yeah, well, he's still mine right now. He was always Denny. So if any Grey's Anatomy fans out there, he was Denny, and then all of a sudden it was like Denny's now gone. It's now Daddy Winchester, and I still, even as Negan, I still can't not call him Daddy Winchester.
Same.
Just can't do it. Can't bring myself to do it.
Is mental because he's in a. I think his entire time on screen is less than an hour.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole of season 1 and 2, like it's less than an hour, isn't it?
Yeah, but what a coup that must have been to get him like for that role. Say, I know he probably wasn't doing much then, but like say he's went on to do a lot, like because it must have been around about the time he'd done Watchmen for the Comedian, or not long around about the same time.
Definitely during.
He always just looked like Javier Bardem.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
I was like, it's just especially when he was in Denny in Grey's Anatomy. I was like, oh my god, it's just Javier Bardem.
Was he in like West Wing or something like that before?
Don't know about West Wing, but he was say Thomas Wayne in Batman.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, so
rumor has it that he was meant to be playing him again in Flashpoint.
Yeah,
I love that. Because fun fact, Lauren, what do you call her from Lauren Cohen from Walking Dead, Bella, she played Martha.
Martha as well.
She did.
Yeah.
Which I thought was ironic given that they hate each other, but in Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I love that callback as well in the Supernatural episode later on.
The bat.
When I saw photos of that.
When was it Halloween episode, or was it just when they were picking out weapons and stuff? And
it was round about Halloween. They walked in and they'd just been like off a hunt or something. They walked in and they put the bat down on the table, and it's quite obviously. It's quite obviously steel. And Dean puts it down on the table and he just goes, Dad loved that thing.
I did see the pictures around it because it wasn't the one like of them in a baseball thing as well, like the two boys and him or something like that. It was like a photograph of them. I do remember when that all happened. I'm guessing that's later on.
Yeah, it's 10 or 11, I think. Roundabout are my favourite. Yeah, later.
It was in the later ones because it was one when they were in the bunker and stuff. And we did get some. It was nice to see the Winchesters have a little bit of a home life as well, because that element didn't, like say, as the nomads that travelled around. But as you said, as you went going on, it started getting a little bit. The tonal change quite a lot. We did have the Monsters of the Week that kind of went to the wayside for a while after Sam had his big when he died for the first time. I know it's like say died how many times before. When they went to that camp where all the other kids that had been affected by the demon's blood were fighting off each other. That was always like say that element when you thought Sam was gone, but then they brought him back. And it wasn't even the same different episode, or was it? Actually, it was the end of the first episode and they brought him back.
Season 2. It was like the last 2 episodes, but just up to it. It was like the last 2 episodes in season 2.
Yeah, and we should have knew what was going to happen from that point on as well. That was when we were introduced to Bobby as well around the first time. Like say, Bobby was brought into it as a character.
One of my favourite characters.
But Bobby was like say grew into the role because he was all he was at the start was an angry person that.
He was supposed to just be a cameo. So he's in the last episode of the first season when John gets kidnapped.
Yeah, because that's who they go to, isn't it?
Yeah, they go and see him, and that was supposed to be it. That was it for Bobby. It was supposed to be done. But because of the rating figures and because of like how much people loved him, they brought him in as a regular. And I love that they brought him in as a regular.
I absolutely love that man. The relationship between him and the boys was definitely father-son. Absolutely 100%. So the death of Bobby was crushing. Like one of the worst in televisions for me. It was crushing.
I think, I know it might be controversial here, but I think the backstory of Bobby was more heartbreaking when you found out why he was the way what happened to his wife and his kids. Yeah. When you found that element out, that kind of crushed us more. Yeah. I know Bobby's death happened, but it was kind of like and that sounds really bad. It was on one of the worst seasons of Supernatural that was made, so it didn't have as much of an impact. But as you said, it was, like say, one of the sad things. But when you found out about his backstory, about how he had to kill his own wife when she was possessed, and he didn't know anything that he knew now, and all the things he could have probably went through and saved her. And again, in later on in the episodes, I can't remember the season, where people were coming back from the dead, and Bobby's wife was there, and to see him how happy he was, but realizing, and Sam and Dean had to convince him that it couldn't stay that way. Again, had like say such a tug and such a pull. But as you said, I think the show wouldn't have been successful, because there was no way. I think after the first season, that was it for Jeffrey Dean Morgan. He wasn't coming back. After he got killed, he's one of these characters that actually stayed dead for a while.
Yeah, they brought his voice back in one of the later episodes.
He did make a return as well when they got the wish.
It was like the 300th episode or something. It was like a big anniversary one, wasn't it?
Episode, yeah. But he was never like coming back full time, because, as I said, he moved on to not bigger and better things, but like different things that he was never going to get away from. Playing the character of Negan, I don't think.
Golden handcuffs, isn't it?
Yeah, like I say, money to make, but I think they needed something like that, so the Bobby role fitted in, like say, and when they brought other characters in as well, that kind of could have fit the role. But I loved how he bounced off people like Rufus as well. Him and Rufus was some of the best and most hilarious combos and conversations that I've seen.
That episode, is it Weekend at Bobby's, when it's predominantly just Bobby and Rufus? It's one of my favourites.
You're gonna have to help us out.
He's the black guy who acts and talks like Bobby. He's like the Murdoch.
Got it. Yes.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite episodes. Weekend at Bobby's is one of my absolute favourites, and it's just because Bobby and Rufus are like an old married couple. It's so good.
And trying to think as well, because we talked about a character appeared in the second season, I believe. Was it the second or last week in the Brooklyn Nine-Nine? He was the dentist. He came in.
Oh, Gordon.
Gordon the vampire hunter.
Yes, I've just been watching them ones. He is phenomenal.
So good. What's his name? Sterling K. Brown?
Yes.
That's it.
That was, I think Supernatural was the first thing I saw him in.
It would have been mine, but I didn't know who I was watching.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Like, I didn't know until like later on.
Yeah.
But his like appearance in there, and as I said, they didn't kill him off and brought him back for things. But it's one of them things, he thinks he's doing right, but he can't see more than black and white.
Yeah.
And by this time, like I said, Sam had his demons and like going through it, and Dean was going through everything because he just wanted to kill everything at that time. And they brought in that same episode as well, Tara from Buffy was in. Yeah, so she made her appearance to, like, it's funny enough, as a vampire.
Was Linda Blair in that series? Am I making that up?
I don't know.
Somebody look very similar to her.
But I don't know if it was that series. She was definitely in it.
She was in because she played the police officer that was arrested Sam and Dean when they went to jail.
But the girl who played Harmony in Angel and Buffy was also in the vampire episodes with Gordon.
Yeah, because
she was one of the first vampires they found.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But having, like, say, later on when they brought Gordon back for like a number of times, but having him turn into a vampire as well, and being one of the protagonists, like, because what I loved about Supernatural, because they had the Monsters of the Week, they sometimes had a big bad, but it wasn't always like the one that you thought was going to be, because they had Gordon in a few episodes. It must have been the like middle of the season when they turned Gordon into a vampire and said, "You kill us, but I've got to kill Sam Winchester first." That was
poor Sam.
Oh, Sam had a rough ride. I know you said he was bitchy, but he had a rough time, bless him.
He was all right. I do like Sam as a character. I just didn't realize like he was very moany. And it's understandable given like the arc that he starts with. Like he's he's trying to break away from the family that he doesn't want to be a part of that, but at the same time he can't forget how his mum died, and then his girlfriend goes out that way, and I can kind of understand like why he is a little bitchy, but when you know who he is later on in the series, it's like you can tell the difference between the two and the growth that he goes through.
Yeah, I've never got that. I don't like what you're saying that he didn't want to belong. I think he always wanted to belong, but he wanted to be accepted, and he felt like he wasn't accepted for wanting more.
I thought because of them going off to wanting to go to college and go off to be a lawyer, that was his breakaway from, I don't want to be part of the family. I want to do my own thing.
No, I think he didn't want that lifestyle, but he always wanted his father's acceptance, because that was always the big thing, especially later on, because Dean was, because as it finds out, and that sounds harsh, as Dean was never his dad's favourite, Sam was.
Yeah.
I think
I think part of Sam's like growth as a character is when he starts out, he thinks, right, this is what I want to go to college, I want the normal lifestyle, married with kids, blah 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 blah, and then as he goes on he realizes that wasn't what he wanted. He just wanted to make his dad proud.
Yeah,
so it's a bit of both, I guess.
It's always, I can see that viewpoint, but I never got the point, because if he didn't want to if he didn't want to be part of the family, he wouldn't have went back with Dean. He would have made that decision then, because as much as Dean wanted to, he never convinced Sam to join him. Sam made that decision.
That's true. It was just the first episode where he's so hell bent on the fact he's got to go back on Monday. That's what I remember from that. I've got to be back for Monday.
No, I think that's just the years of abuse of John at the hands to him there, though. But I noticed as well, as you said, mentioned through Sam's growth, and keep going back, Sam did grow quite a lot all the way through this show, and they managed to find ways to get him to take his top off in any situation that they could all the way through, because he got big and buff, bless him.
You know what? I must be like completely and utterly blind to Sam's charm, because Dean was just my favourite. Still is my favourite. So I didn't really pay attention to him.
No, Sam didn't. Sam didn't have charm. Sam had pecs. Sam take the shirt off, and he was huge. He started off quite scrawny.
First brother to get topless.
He's just the kid from Gilmore Girls to me. So I'm just like, I don't see it at all. Like, but Jensen Ackles that man just ages like fine wine.
No,
but really does.
Yeah, I think with Jensen Ackles, it was all about the personality as well. He had everything, like the crack, and like said, as Dean Winchester, you wanted to be his mate, you wanted to be his drinking buddy. Like say, he would have you back. But that was all thing. I would never want to go for a pint with Sam, because it would be dull as dishwater, and he would.
Oh my god, yeah, most likely. But even with Jensen, like at my. Anytime I read anything with Jason Todd from Batman, he is my Jason Todd in my head, because that man absolutely killed it in that. His voiceover work is fantastic. His voice is fantastic.
Well, he was Bruce Wayne as well, wasn't he? Now in Long Halloween.
Because he actually used to see on. I think he sent a few tweets and messages out saying he's Batman now and stuff like that.
You can class himself as Batman.
He's got that line, hasn't he? In with the rabbit's foot one. He goes, I'm Batman.
Yeah. Well, that's because I know we've touched on, like, say, a few characters and stuff, but who would you say is, like, I know it's going to be hard, but other than Sam and Dean, who are, like, say, your standout characters that you love and you would always go back to?
I really liked. Oh, sorry, Charlotte, go on.
Crowley. I love Crowley.
Hello, darling.
He was so perfect for Crowley. Like Mark Sheppard was just absolutely brilliant as it. Like he had so much fun with it.
Oh, 100%. And like everything he started off on, and you thought, oh, it could be quite interesting. What he started off, you think he's going to be evil and nice, but the personality he grows into and the writers use and build are just absolutely spot on. And like
he blurs the lines between good and evil more than any other character, I think.
Because just when you're just about to like him, he does something that switches focus and like turns it back, as a Damon would do. But what I liked as well, his sexuality was always fluctuating as well, because he was always, it doesn't matter male, female, or animal, he was always flirting with.
Yes.
When he kisses Bobby, when they have to kiss for the deal, and he's got the photo of it. I love that bit.
And you can tell how uncomfortable Bobby is for that, because as a grufty old, like, Southern American, it's not the most, and Mark Sheppard plays it up.
That was ad-libbed as well by Mark Sheppard. He wasn't the photo and stuff wasn't supposed to happen, and Mark Sheppard was like, I'm gonna get a selfie of it and put it in the show.
That is absolutely brilliant. For a demon, he's very complex. Like in what's the word? I did just have the word in my head a second ago and it's gone, but complex is the one I'm going to go with. He was just, for a demon who should just be very black, like very straight, like straight evil.
He's got layers.
Yes, a lot of them, and he's fantastic. I love Mark Sheppard. I mean, he's in one of my favorite X-Files episodes. The fire guy one I thought was absolutely brilliant, and the fact that he kept his accent as well. They didn't change it. That was I love when they let actors keep their accents.
Like I say, he was great in Firefly as well. Like I say, the part he played in there was, he was pretty much Crowley just alive. But like I say, the interaction with, like, and it gives us the greatest nicknames of us, like Moose and Squirrel for Sam, and or the big one, the little one, and stuff like that. It's just like, say, how he plays off in his relationship with Dean, because as he said, Dean was always his favourite, and as it goes on, and when Dean becomes a demon for a little while as well, like them two going off, and Crowley's trying to control him and keep him like under control, is just hilarious. It's like they're a proper married couple.
I love Cass and his relationship as well.
Castiel was a special as well.
They play, like, Misha Collins and Mark Sheppard play off each other so well. I want a spin-off show of just them two.
Misha Collins is just phenomenal. Like, Castiel's not my favorite character, but Misha Collins, what he did for the supernatural community, and like what he still like does, it's unreal. Like he put the name to good use, and he's such a lovely bloke.
He went through a lot though. Like I say, bless him. Like we talked about Sam and Dean getting killed off, but he got killed off nearly every season, and the fans must have kicked off something rotten for them to keep bringing him back.
But the way, like, if we're talking about Misha Collins, the way Misha Collins switched between Cass and Jimmy in that episode was one of the most heartbreaking episodes, when Jimmy has to give up everything and just Cass takes over. Like, it was so good.
His entrance though as Castiel, that entrance is absolutely, I remember watching it and just like, I think Tia just dropped, because it was just like, what the fuck's happening now?
It's so iconic, isn't it? Like that image of just the shadow of the wings on the back wall. It's just like, that is supernatural in an image.
Yeah, but that's kind of lost me a little bit with Supernatural when we're going through the seasons after that, because Misha Collins, like Castiel, comes in as the biggest, baddest. These are angels. Do not fuck with angels. These thing, and later on, Sam and Dean's brain angels all over. It's like Sam and Dean's got any special powers. They've already demolished demons. Demons are not anymore. They can just flick them and they'll go away. And now they're fighting angels and being able to put up fights with angels. Not just one or two angels, but fucking 5 or 6 at the same time.
Dean, who gets beaten up at least 3 times in the first season by young, like 11-year-old girls, is suddenly beating up angels.
Yeah, that kind of lost its like track with me for a little bit, but in the last season, before we get there, like I say, I'm not going to spoil it just yet. It explains a little bit more why that's the case, and I understand it now. So when I watch it back now, I can appreciate it. But at the time, I was like, "Fuck off." I was like, 2 seasons ago, Dean was basically shooting everything, stabbing Castiel, and he was walking through the alleyway, and Castiel was just like getting his wings out, and not in a dirty way, because there is the fan theory that Sam and Castiel and Dean have that kind of relationship, which again I totally focus. Like say, as a couple, I think they fit perfectly, and again when we get to the last season, when we talk about that aspect, it's quite sad. But like I say, one of my top characters, and again I've talked about it a few times, like say in previous ones, Just got to show her
She's
that.
mine.
Charlie.
Charlie.
Charlie, she's mine
Oh.
too.
As soon as she walked on the screen, like say Felicia Day, it was magic, and she fit into that world, and I wanted her in every episode. I not get bloke. Like say, I can appreciate Sam and Dean for what they are. Could have got rid of them. Sean, Charlie, I'd be happy. And it wouldn't even have to be sexualized or anything like that. It was just fun. It was a little like, this is how well she did it. She felt like a little sister to us.
Yeah, she was the little sister of the crew. Like, you felt like you had to protect her. But what you're watching is, and the reason why she works so well for us, because it's Felicia Day playing Felicia Day.
Yeah.
The difference between her and Charlie is very little. But that's the reason it works for, is because she is Charlie and Charlie is Felicia, and it's brilliant casting, and I just love the woman so much.
And it's crazy as well. Sorry.
I was going to say, she just fit perfectly.
She came into as well. I know we talked about Bobby's death in the worst season of Supernatural. The Leviathans, that whole bullshit where the flappy head things, and where they got harmed by washing up liquid was just shit. but yeah, they gave us Charlie, like I said, but her appearance after that, like when the LARPing, was, if not up there with my top 5 episodes I've ever seen. Like, say, when they're trying to capture the princess and fairies are real, all apparently, and Dean gets all excited because he gets to run around with a sword and make believe that he's a knight, and all that. Give me all of that. It was like,
it was brilliant.
And you saw full Felicia Day, full Charlie in her role. And as it went on, you got different aspects. Like, I know when they brought her in, it was more like the silly episodes, like fucking hell, she went to Oz, for God's sake.
Yes, that really, when that happened, I was like I didn't want Charlie to go, but at the same time, I was like, really?
That was quite questionable, that one. Yeah.
I still love it. To be fair, when it comes to the Wizard of Oz, I'm biggest Wizard of Oz fan. I love the Wizard of Oz. Give me anything to do with Dorothy and stuff. But I thought that was fun. Like I say, I love the stupid episodes, but her death to the hands of the Frankensteins was absolutely brutal.
It was awful. The fans hated it, and because it was another woman in a bathtub situation. The woman in the refrigerator. It's all that all over again, and people were not angry that Charlie died.
The way they did
it was the fashion of how they did it. It just felt disrespectful to such a great character and someone who we all look forward to seeing. We all loved the Charlie episode. And it really it caused a huge backlash. The community just went up in arms, but also that brings out the comic book community as well, because they decided to get involved. I remember that time. It was awful. But the death of Charlie is horrible.
But another sad thing with Charlie as well is when she comes back from Oz and there's 2 Charlies, and Dean's fighting her because he's got the mark of Cain, which is, again, absolutely ridiculous storyline, but works for some reason.
I really enjoyed the mark of Cain.
But and then Dean and Charlie fighting, but not realizing when he's hitting bad Charlie, it's hurting good Charlie. And seeing her when he realizes that he's broke her arm and really hurt her, and seeing the look on Dean's face, and he never, like, I know it's only a show, but you could tell he never forgave himself for what he did to her there. Because, like, as you said, if that was his little sister, that's the person who he loved, like, just as much as Sam.
Yeah, there was such a protection between, like, Sam. More probably, I don't know if this is probably just me interpreted this way, but Dean felt more protective over her. Like it was more Dean, but I think that's just Dean's character in general. When it comes to people, he is quite protective.
It really reminded me of Joe, Ellen and Joe, of how he was with Joe.
Yeah,
like there was a little bit of flirting there, but like he just wanted to protect her. You know, like that's what it reminded us of with Charlie.
I loved Ellen and Joe. They were great characters. I was always, again, I sound like I'm bashing. I was always a little bit disappointed with the reveal of what happened between Joe's father and like I say, Daddy Winchester, because you expected it to be more explosive, or I know they went on a hunt and one didn't come back, but I thought it was going to be more like John left them there to die, or John had made a decision that caused him dying, not just because he died on a hunt.
Yeah.
That was always my little bit of a disappointment, because fair enough, you can be pissed off at John Winchester for that, but you couldn't really blame him. And the way they were blaming him seemed a bit harsh to me. But again, that's just my take on it.
Yeah. I was going to just say something about Dean, and it's totally slipped my head. No. Never mind. Probably wasn't that important. Probably just gushing how over gorgeous he is.
But yeah, that, like I say, good points. Like I've forgotten the name now. Joe and
Ellen,
like brilliant, like mother characters for Sam and Dean. The Roadhouse, brilliant. I loved it. I loved the guy with the mohawk. Again, Ash.
Loved Ash.
Like I say, great little elements, but again, kind of just faded away and got rid of quite too soon as well. I know it was all the lead up for like the big battle with the yellow-eyed demon, and like I said, as we thought we weren't going to get too many seasons after this one, but we got 15. It would be nice to keep a few of them around. But Ash was an interesting character. I quite liked. But again, if we're talking about the later seasons as well, Rowena, absolutely loving me life. The accent, I know it's not for everyone, but Jesus, she could have talked to me at any time.
She is stunning.
Yes.
Stunning lady.
Yes.
Interesting. Isn't she what's his face? Oh my God, Mark Shepard's character.
Yeah, it was his mother.
I love them. I love them too.
Yeah. But like I say, her character, she reminded us of a live action Jessica Rabbit.
Just a little bit shorter.
Just a little bit. Doesn't have to be tall. But just like say the looks and the facial expressions and just the conniving part of it. And I love the banter between her and Crowley, or Fergus, that she used to call them.
Funny.
Like say, because she refuses to call him Crowley or the King of Hell. She's always get Fergus.
Yeah, she's the only one that calls him Fergus, isn't she?
Yeah. And you can tell he just rolls his eyes, and he can't really be too mad, because that's his mother as well.
Yeah. I really like the episodes with Death in them.
Yes, that guy who played Death was out of this world. Yeah,
unreal. I've just been watching, because I've seen to Paul before we started. Because I'm on season 3, and my memory is shocking. For all I've seen 10 seasons, my memory is terrible. So I'm only on series 3, and I was like, I'm going to watch some YouTube videos just to try and like re-jog my memory. And it was the scene with Death when he's explaining the Mark of Cain to Dean, and I was like, oh my God, he was so good.
Well, all the four horsemen were had the parts like that season. Like, what was it, the guy who played War? He's been in a few things as well. He was but the more sinister was Pestilence. That just made me physically sick.
He was horrible.
And that's the guy who played the dad in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes, it is.
And like say when he's snotting up and sneezing all over everywhere, and it's causing that disease. But as you said, Death was unbelievable.
So mysterious. And then there was another scene with him when Dean was given his job for the day, and he kind of broke his rule of the unnatural law, and he brought Sam back. And just that conversation between them two, where Dean's like, he was saying, if you know what you know now, would you allow that little girl to die? And he was like, absolutely. And it's just the conversation between the two of them was just, it's lovely, because it went Death. I thought he was just a one note.
No.
Death. And there was something else there, and understanding as well. And I just loved it. Whenever he was on the screen, I was glued to him.
I love the fact that, like I say, when Death arrived, he always around where, like say, fast food joints.
Yes,
he was always
eating
fast food. Always like nice things, but again, pivotal. It's probably a factor to the show going on too long, or like say that these characters didn't get the proper ending. I don't think Death got the ending he deserved, and when they replaced him with like the Reaper, I've forgotten her name now, because she changed that many looks all the way through. Again, that was all the things. I like the behind stories of the Reapers. That episode where Dean's in the hospital and he's thinking he's talking to someone who's a ghost to try and get back alive, and it's just a Reaper trying to coerce them into like I say, taking the right path. But like I say, that kind of didn't play out well. But like I say, so many good parts of good things played out. And like I say, with everything, when Dean's with Death, you could tell there's chemistry there.
Yeah, I've just been pointed out that I said something wrong. So sorry, Sarah Blake. It didn't bring Sam back. He brought his soul back.
Yes,
that was it.
Stop reading the chat.
Well, someone's got to, in case someone asks something, someone's got to be there.
Donna's there. Look after the chat. Don't worry about the chat.
But yeah, I got that part wrong. It wasn't to bring him back. It was to bring his soul back.
Oh, how many episodes have we done? We've got about a million things wrong. We don't give a fuck.
100. How many times I said Jake Peralta's name wrong in the last before I even picked up that I was saying it wrong?
Yeah, I noticed that.
Sorry, I'm the warmest person in the world now. But yeah. Flannel is not a colour for fat lads. I'm sorry, I haven't got the body of Dean or Sam. But yeah.
So we've talked a bit about how like emotional it is, but what was the first episode that scared you?
Scared us.
What was the first episode where you went, "Oh, this is a bit creepy"?
Probably the one that we discussed earlier, the witch one, with the kids. Well, the kids were just asleep in the hospital, and that or the fairground where the kid brought, but no, where the kid brought the clown back from the fairground, and it used to kill his parents, and it turned out it was the blind man in the fairground, and Sam's reaction is just hilarious whenever he's seen the clowns. But them two of the episodes that probably do stand out, where it did actually creep us out a little bit, where because there were the early ones as well, where it wasn't. It was shot through the dodgy filter.
Yeah. The Bloody Mary one was a bit chilling, just because it's the mirrors. So you know what you're meant to be looking at in a mirror, but then having something behind you, and that kind of like freaks us out a little bit. The Bloody Mary one for sure. I'm trying to think. Because the earlier ones were more creepy.
Well, they were more horror. Yeah, because the later ones just became like God versus evil, or like it become less horror.
Which Winchester Brothers going to die this week? I'm going to stick with the Bloody Mary one. Oh, and the one that the one that I've just watched. When Dean thinks he's met his son, it's in series 3.
The Changelings.
The Changelings, yeah.
That's it. And it was the little girl. It wasn't so much when she was looking in the mirror and she cuddled her and she could see like her skin was different. It was when she was in the car and she looks in the mirror and that freaked us out. That made us jump.
I've got 2. Mine was the Bugs episode in like season 1.
Right, yeah. So I was on the Indian merry-go-round type thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, just bugs everywhere, just no. And the little girl in the painting.
Yes.
When you think it's like all the way through, you think it's the dad, but it's the little girl. Like when I first watched that, I was 15-ish.
And when the bird...
Kev. When I first watched that, I was about 15.
She's probably lost her train of thought. Jeez, Kev.
I was about 15. And at the time, like little girl ghosts and stuff really creeped us out. And that one like really, really scared us. And I think that was the first time the show really creeped us out.
That was a good one as well, because as you said, the thought was the dad in the pain, and that was the one, so they burned his bones, but really it was him keeping the little girl in check. As soon as they killed it, like got rid of his like soul, she was free to try and kill anyone. And that was quite creepy. Not scary, but probably one I enjoyed, like for the creep factor, was the old Magicians one.
With wasn't that the one with Bruce Campbell in it?
I don't know. It was the guy with out of. No, I wasn't. It was the guy out of Rocky Horror. Who played Brad as the agent magician, and everyone was saying he was past it when he started getting all these tricks, but it was really this this demon that was kind of killing people and giving them getting them to escape death, but passing his death on anyone, like all these young and up and coming magicians. But that was quite well done, I thought.
Is that the one where they take the Mickey out of? Well, they take the piss out of Chris Angel.
Yes.
yes.
It's always good when you can get a Chris Angel dig in, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love that. I am so like the more we talk about it, because like again, shocking memory. I've got so much to look forward to. Bye, Kev.
But yeah, but some of my favorite episodes aren't even the scary ones, it's the silly ones. I think they make up for it. I know they only do like 1 or 2 a season, but when they do, absolutely, the mystery spot one where Dean keeps on dying. Heat of the moment.
That is such a good episode. But can we
just everyone?
Can we just appreciate ghost faces?
Ghost faces.
No, because the shite just no, not gonna talk about the crap.
What?
Worst episodes ever.
Nah, totally disagree. And it's 2 against 1.
They were so funny.
Well, I brought up mine first, so I'm talking about mine first. Was a better episode.
The suicidal teddy bear.
Yes.
With the wishing well.
That was the one.
Teddy bear.
That was Sam Raimi's brother in that one. That was the Sam Raimi's brother in that one.
Yeah.
Teddy Raimi, yeah.
Yeah.
Suicidal teddy bear.
But like I say, the mystery spot one where we got really Loki, who turned out to be Gabriel in the end, which was just confusing. But
I love the trickster.
The trickster episodes, but how many ways can Dean die or go through, and Sam slowly losing his mind?
Yeah.
Just to show him that, like I say, what would happen, or the things that they keep on doing to bring themselves that line was a good message. But Jesus Christ, all the different ways that poor Dean died was
some of the ways they killed him.
He was brilliant.
The dog. When you just see was it the dog, and you just hear barking, and then you see like a foot or something.
Was there a moment where a piano dropped? It didn't hit Dean, and then something else killed him. Yeah,
the piano dropped. He got him out of the way, and he got run over by a car. Then one, he was eating a sausage and was choked on the sausage. But that's how they noticed it in the diner, because one of the guys left early, so that was a change, and that's where Sam realised it was the trickster.
It was a change in the sauce or something in the syrup he'd had on his waffles when he left, and there was like. But honestly, I think any episode with the trickster in is just genius. Like the one where that. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one where they're in the different like TV shows.
Yes.
And they're in like the was it Dr. Sexy or something?
Yeah.
And the Japanese game show where they keep on getting hit. Any trickster episode, I'm all in for.
That's so good.
Definitely. But as you were saying with the
ghost faces,
the wishing well, I'm going to try and ignore the ghost faces.
Why? What's wrong with the ghost faces? That was hilarious.
I'll get my wife on now. She absolutely hates it as well. I don't find them funny. I don't even think they're entertaining. It just reminds us of the Lone Gunman, but not done well.
I thought they were great, and I just love ghost faces.
Yeah. But only thing I liked about the ghost faces one was when they put the magnets on the computer and wiped all the things. I was getting mad. Fuck you, you little shit. You little arrogant little pricks.
What about the suit where they go a little bit meta, and it's like they're in the supernatural fan world?
Yeah, when they go through the window, the brick for the window.
Jared and Jensen playing Sam and Dean playing Jared and Jensen.
Yeah.
I love that episode.
But Dean's like walking around like the world's going, yeah, we said we don't really talk in real life. And Misha's just like tweeting going, Sam and Dean are going to get into it now. But no, that was good. Like I say, if we're going to go with like balls to the wall silly, the Scooby-Doo episode.
I love that episode
top
so
level.
Much.
Yes. Seeing Dean cracking on to Daphne is just one of the highlights, and realising that film is a little bit of a sex fest as well. But that was always a highlight.
The first time I met my sister's stepson, he said I look like Velma.
Well, to be fair, Velma was always the prettiest one in my eyes. So don't worry there, Charlotte. That's a compliment for me. Don't worry. But yeah, I would take that. But yeah, like I say, but again, if we're going to go at the silliest and the best silliest episodes, when Dean gets scared of everything, when he gets cursed with
that scream.
Yellow Fever.
Yellow Fever, that's the one.
Is that not the one that also gave us the greatest outtake ever when he's singing?
Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the Tiger.
Leave it up.
When he's lying in the car and all of a sudden he just starts rising up.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is genius.
But just when he's getting chased down the street by that little dog.
It'll always be the cat in the locker, and it's when he screams and he goes, "Oh, that was scary."
When they get in the car and he starts listening what they do, he goes, "You know who does that? Crazy people."
We felt sorry for him as well because he was doing all the scratching and he was like tearing his skin off because he was just scratching away all the time. But
so good just to see him as a different person. Like the first time, like Dean's not being Dean, it was just great. I love that episode so much. But I love Sam's just got no tolerance for it at all. I
love the silly episodes because they have such fun with it. Like, those are the episodes where you can tell how close they are in real life. Like the whole cast, because they have such fun with it, and that timing's just brilliant.
This is what I wanted to ask you. Have they actually fallen out?
No.
Over the boys and
no.
They haven't, because I've read somewhere that this Jared Paraletti didn't take his casting in the boys very well.
No, that was wrong. It was basically announced that Jensen Ackles is producing a new Supernatural show,
right?
But it's going to be about John Winchester or John and Mary Winchester, and he's just going to be doing the voiceover. And Jared Paraletti was a little bit put out saying, "I've not been told about this. I've not been been anything out." He put on Twitter, but apparently they sorted it out. It's just basically Jensen. Jared kind of spat his dummy out a little bit, but it had nothing to do with Sam. It's not Sam's story. So
really cool, isn't it?
Yeah. So it wouldn't have to have anything to do with him, but it was kind of just like the media blowing it out of thing, but. He didn't help himself by tweeting about it, but it didn't have a falling out. Like I say, Jensen apparently sorted it out pretty quickly.
Hope not, because their friendship, like outside of Supernatural, it's lovely. Like the interview of the podcast I listened to today, he was saying like in the beginning we weren't. Like we have a lot in common. Like they're both from Texas. They both got siblings that are exactly the same. They then ended up going having children, like 3 kids each, like
at the same time.
But
the thing is, he's went away. He's doing Texas Walker Ranger now, so he's got his own little thing.
Yeah.
So he's moved on. So,
but that's it. You can't expect, like, if the show has ended and you've agreed that this is the end, then you can't expect him to not to go on and do something else, even if it included the Supernatural name. Like you accepted the terms, you accepted that it was ending. But he was saying like they weren't friends to start with. They were not like they are now. And he says like I can go weeks and months without speaking to him.
Yeah,
but still know he's like there. It's like it's a proper friendship. It's lovely.
Well, that's where you go with any working thing. But like I say, that's why they do the casting and pick out of millions and millions of people who do go in for it. To get that chemistry and like I say, they build that relationship. So that was always done well, I think.
Could have been very different because he did test for Smallville.
Yeah, he was in Smallville though.
He tested for Clark Kent.
But he played like I said, the fella in it, didn't it?
Yeah, but he tested for it originally.
He also auditioned for Captain America.
He did.
Yeah, that could have been really different.
I mean, I can't imagine. Like Cap is a little bit moody. I don't expect him to be like.
You can you?
Nah, not that moody. They constantly have a resting bitch face all the time.
In a pout.
In a pouch, yeah, he does. He has a really big pout. But he wasn't like that in Gilmore Girls. He was a bit huffy, but he was still kind of, fresh-faced.
It was Jensen Ackles who tested.
Yeah, no,
was it?
I was wondering what you were talking about.
It was Jared Paraletti who I was talking about for Smallville.
Oh, right.
No.
Because I thought we were leading on the same thing.
No, because Jensen Ackles was in Smallville.
No, when I was talking about Jared Paraletti, he was tested for Clark Kent, and he said he was never going to get it because he's really tall. He says, and you didn't need that at the time. Now, yes, but not then.
No, because it was Jensen who went for Captain America because that's when he got the boys role. He went, I might not have got Captain America, but I've got this. So
that makes more sense.
Yeah. I was wondering where we were going with that. But
well, because I was talking about Jared, not Jensen.
As usual, we're talking about one thing, Sam goes off in the direction.
My God, I was originally talking about Jared, and then you started talking about Jensen. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
That.
But talking about finishing off the silly episodes as well, the Lucky Rabbit Foot.
You could have reminders on this one.
I lost my shoe.
Yeah.
I've just watched a clip of that where he had chewing gum on his shoe and then he drops it down the drain.
Yeah, it's basically
that's the I'm Batman episode.
Yeah, he gets the rabbit foot, and then anything basically when you've got the rabbit foot, everything goes right. Mm-hmm. But you will lose it, and the curse is everything will go wrong until you die.
Is that where he's sitting in front of an air conditioning unit?
Yeah,
and they've tied him up and stuff.
And the air conditioning unit goes up in flames. And then he puts it out, and then he goes up in flames.
Yeah.
And then the window gets put through somehow. Yeah.
It's one of them things, and like I say, Dean's like got the rabbit foot and getting all excited and uses, as Charlotte said, the famous line, because like people are shooting at him, but guns are flying out, and he's catching all the guns and doing these John Wick style moves, and he's just like, I'm Batman. It just works out absolutely perfectly.
I do vaguely remember it, especially when I saw the clip of the shoe incident. I do vaguely remember. See, I've got all this to look forward to again.
It's like
a wiped memory.
It's a Bella episode, that one, I think.
Yes, it was. Because she's after the rabbit foot to sell on, and then he's get, look, we're going to die, and she's like, oh, sorry guys, I'm being offered like £2 million for it and stuff like that. I didn't even match it, and they're like, how about we'll not kill you if you don't.
That's always a good point with them too. We'll just not kill you, and then you can go and move on.
But like I said, that was quite a sad ending with her as well, because they just decided to not save her in the end, didn't they? Because she'd fucked up that many times, or she killed her own parents, didn't she?
She'd done she'd done a deal, wasn't it? And it was the Hellhounds that got her.
Yeah, because she had done a deal to kill her parents and inherit all the money.
Yeah, and they were, like, I think her last moments was just her on the phone to the boys, and you could just hear like the barking in the background, and that was it. And they were just like, no. You've made your own bed, lie in it, sort of thing.
Yeah. Which was quite brutal for them as well, because they always do try and save everyone. But like I said, as we got on, like I said, they built different relationships with different characters. They didn't bring as many dark characters in as they did in the first seasons. Like I said, as I thought, it was more like fun cameo, fun characters like Garth. I loved his, like say, his element as a hunter, but then becomes a werewolf.
Yes. Sorry.
I loved Garth up until a point, and then when Bobby died and they tried to make him the new Bobby, I was like, no.
Yeah, that was a mistake. That was a misstep.
Who was the vampire who Dean befriended? I want to say Vinny, but I might have gotten his name wrong.
In Purgatory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know
he was in a couple of episodes though, wasn't he?
He wasn't just in that.
Is it Vinny?
It began with a V, but I remember him because he died in the second season. He was Gordon chopped his head off, and then they used the same actor. I don't know.
I thought that the other day when he came on, I was like, "That's Vinny." I'm sure his name's Vinny.
It's Benny.
Benny. That's it. Benny.
Thank you, Sarah.
He was part of I'm just going to call her Tara because I can't remember what it was called in a Supernatural, but he was part of Tara's group, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Sarah might just tell you in a minute.
That's what I love about them as well. Like they do go back and they did bring back characters from the actors, like that episode where the original Meg comes back when the ghosts are coming back, and Bobby's wife comes back, and the original Meg comes back, and the police officer from Justin Bellow, the first time you see Lilith, he comes back, and they really did throughout the 15 series. They really did, but I think that's probably how much fun Supernatural was to work on. Actors and actresses who had bit parts were happily just to come back in the future. Like they were just like, yep, we'll do it.
Yeah, I really loved the episodes with Benny, and I loved his and Dean's relationship. Like I look forward to seeing him. So yes, thank you for correcting the name because that would have done my nutting. I knew it wasn't Vinny. I knew it sounded something like that.
But you couldn't have had him in too long, though. That's the problem. Because it was taken away from Cass and Dean's relationship, because that was going to be the element there. But again, I love Supernatural because of like the big bads they brought in, but they kind of misstepped with a few. You mentioned one, Lilith, where they built up brilliantly, and after you find out and get to her climax, shall we say, it was a bit of a damp squid. It didn't quite hit the levels as you were expecting with Lilith.
Yeah, especially given the shit show that they did in True Blood with it. So yeah, I was expecting more.
I was honestly in that last episode where they finally sort of get rid of Lilith. I cheered more when they stabbed Ruby and killed Ruby than I cheered when they killed Lilith. So yeah.
No, definitely. But like I say, there were certain elements. Again, I know we've talked about the season that like shouldn't have happened. Like the Leviathan episode was just season because. But the thing is, Dick Roman was actually really good, really quite sinister.
He got under your skin, didn't he?
Yeah.
But he just had this shit monster in the back of it, and kind of like say then what was it to kill him off? They had to use a magic stick. I forgot what it was used.
Sounds like a South Park episode, doesn't it?
It's pretty much where Dean sticks him with a magic stick, and him and Cass get sent to purgatory. And again, good twist, but then he doesn't stay in purgatory less than he goes to the next season, but he's out of it pretty much straight away. So
really quick at the turnaround, isn't it, in these series?
But then
it was like Peaky Blinders Dean when he was
when he was Michael.
That wasn't great.
No.
Peaky Blinders Dean.
Like I say, there were so many plot points or things that they think, oh, this is going to bring it a bit more interesting, but then they reverted back to normal because they were scared of change, apparently. But like I say, when Dean had the mark of Cain and the mark took over him and he became a demon, then you thought, great, are we going to get half a season now of Sam trying to get Dean back? No, we've got about 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Then again, the end when Dean fights Lucifer as Michael. This is where we're getting to spoiler episodes now, nearly towards the end. Michael possesses Dean, and then turns away and says, he's mine now, and then goes into the next season. You think, great, I'm going to get a few seasons of Dean now being bad, which you do get, but it's kind of like first couple episodes, then he's back to normal Dean.
Then it's about 3 episodes.
A couple episodes in. He goes back to 10. Season's 11, I believe, or 12. 12, is it?
Right, definitely not seen that one. Then
12,
I think.
Possibly, because that's the one where they're bringing, what's he called? Lucifer's son, which was absolutely shite.
12 or 13, because I'd watched up until that point.
Which is the last episode of a season where literally it's just black everywhere. They've opened something up.
That's God's sister, I believe.
Amara.
Was
it the darkness or something she was?
The darkness, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the last point I watched. So I don't know what that is.
Because that's when they convinced God to come back to defeat his sister, and he won't. So they bring Lucifer in, try and make Lucifer good, which again always backfires. But like I said, that was again a weird season that didn't quite hit the mark. Because great idea, and that's when we find out Chuck is actually God as well. That's when they made the announcement, because harping back to like good old Supernatural, they use the necklace to summon God or speak to God that Dean has, and he's always that Sam give him. Great little key there. But kind of just before we move on to talk about like the later ones as well, can we just give it up for Chuck as well? I love the Chuck episodes when he was the writer writing the books of Supernatural, and seeing Dean and Sam's reaction to their life story being paged.
His whole like story from like beginning to end is brilliant to watch. Like, he is so good in it. Like, when he first came into it, you just thought, all right, he's probably not going to be that memorable. And then like by the end of it, you're like, ooh.
Did he write the school play as well, or did they get that from his books?
Got from his book.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that episode.
Yeah.
And Chuck and Becky. Is it Becky?
Yes, Becky. That was good. She was amazing. Like, from the Comic-Con, like, say, I've seen Just as laughing now, seeing the other Sam and Dean's playing out and trying to win through the thing.
Yes.
Season 7, Time for a Wedding.
Yeah.
When she's got Sam tied up. Is the
possessed
best
with a love steps.
It's the best episode. It's so funny because she just wants to love him.
Yeah, well, she's not just living out your fancy. Would you have done that, Charlotte? If you could think of a way of getting yourself in that situation, would you have done it? Yes or no?
I'd give it some good thought. I wouldn't. I'd be lying if I said no.
Yes, you would be.
But yeah, season 7, Time for a Wedding is one of my favourite silly episodes, actually.
Yeah, but then they killed her off.
Yeah.
In sorry, spoilers. Shit. sorry. That's last season. Sorry.
Talking about guest stars, though, Becky and right back in in season 2, one of the special kids, Becky and Ava, are guest stars from Ginger Snaps.
Yes.
The film.
Yes. Yeah. Well, they always do, like, as you said, with the guest stars, they always pull in from the horrors. As you said, Linda Blair, I don't know if it was second or third season where she played the prison guard.
Yeah.
Who, like I say, her fiance has been killing girls and giving necklaces to.
It's the second season I've just watched.
Possibly. Yeah. It was earlier on because it was when they've lost Daddy Winchester.
Gordon's like sidekick kind of guy is what you call him from The Crow as well.
Yeah, fun boy.
Yeah.
Oh wow, is it really? Is it Michael Massey?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something Massey. Yeah. Oh wow, fun boy.
Yeah.
But there was a lot. But as I said, they went from Buffy because like Spike and Cordelia, James Masters and Cassidy Carpenter. I can't remember. Can't get her name right.
Charisma Carpenter.
Yeah.
Carpenter. That's one. They appeared as witches as well.
Lucifer, isn't it? The guy that plays Lucifer. Oh, what's his name? The British guy. He's
Laura. It'll be going nuts now. Is it Laura who really likes Lucifer?
Tom Ellis.
No,
Tom
it's
Ellis.
Donna. Donna really likes
Donna.
him.
Sorry, Donna.
Donna.
Yeah, I shout. Tom Ellis. He's in an episode. I think he plays a god or something like that. I think it's a trickster episode.
All right.
In the hotel?
Yeah, that was another good episode where they had all the different gods around to try and see if they're going to intervene with Lucifer, but then he comes in and slaughters them all.
So the cameos it's going to be and another cameo, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
another cameo. It's not as good as the Brooklyn Nine-Nine one because it was literally every other and another cameo.
But yeah, but brilliant. Again, I know, as you said, later on the seasons got sillier and sillier, especially when I say the bunkers, but we brought in a few characters. Again, I can't remember her name, but her relationship with Sam later on, the woman who was the deaf hunter.
Oh, yes. She was really good.
Yeah, like her and Sam's relationship was so well done, and you thought Sam could have a bit of happiness. And again, the woman who, like the police officer in Bobby's sheriff, she took over. Like I say, I've forgotten her name now, but we want to have a spin-off season.
The Wayward Sisters.
The Wayward Sisters with her and Cass's daughter, and the vampire lass that they rescued, where they were going to do that, but. So they tried to spin off a few times. So
yeah, it just never happened, did it? It just was an idea, and then just nothing came of it.
I think it got a pilot, but it just never aired.
Well, they used the episode as a pilot, I think. Like where they've done an episode called Wayward Sisters, but also they were going to do one called Bloodlines as well, where they had vampires versus werewolves. They had that. I think it was around season 7 or 8. Again, it didn't get too much traction, but they've tried looking at ways to spin it off. But as we said, not quite got the same traction as Sam and Dean, unfortunately.
There was an animated series that lasted for 1 season, and there was a comic book series that lasted from 2 runs.
I think I'll probably find its home in like comics later on down the line. Now it's finished, I can see that definitely being a way forward for the Winchesters to still live on.
It would be nice to think that they could live on,
because there's probably lots of different hunts or different side stories that that they've not told, because they're on the road a lot. But again, I can't believe we've spent so long and not mentioned one of the biggest and most important characters in this, Baby.
Oh,
car.
Baby, the car.
What a car.
What a beautiful car.
Yeah.
And like I said, as before we do get into spoiler season for that, but again, that car was it a Chevy Impala?
Chevy Impala,
Impala.
67.
67, I believe. I
Yeah.
could be wrong. I'm not good with the dates, but as soon as you saw that car, that was made the show. And the music as well. I've never known a TV show that relied so heavily on the soundtrack. I know movies have done it so well, but as a TV show from start to finish, I know earlier on the music was a lot better than it was later on. But I still look forward to see what tracks they were going to play and what songs they were going to play in Dean's car.
It was always going to be some form of 80s rock. Mm-hmm. But me and Anth always used to say when the season ended and you had Carry On, My Wayward Son come on, we always said that song is Dean. Yeah. It's a Dean song. Not just a Dean song as in that is what Dean would listen to, but if you listen to it, it's Dean's character all over, and we loved it. Like you do look forward to the end of the season for that bit to come on.
Yeah.
Like it got me really emotional because when I think it's a Dean song, I think of what he's been through that season. It just never had nothing to do with Sam.
Even in the later seasons, even if the season hadn't been that great, when you got to the final episode and you just hear that opening, you get excited, it's the final.
And what a clever move that is, though, because I don't know any other shows that's done that or had that little thing. Because when it first happened, you thought, oh, that was quite different, and then they've done it again in the second season. You were like, right, this must be a little signature, a little thing, and it worked so well.
It didn't do it the first or the first season or the second one. That was just it was a montage of what was happening, but it wasn't the song.
They did, but it's not on Prime.
That makes sense then, because I've just watched them and they're not on there.
I was complaining about that so much before. The music so if you're watching it on Prime, the music in the first 2 seasons has been completely changed because they didn't have the licensing to play the tracks.
So am I going to have that all the way through?
No, it's just the first 2 seasons, I think.
Right.
But you don't get when the first time they play AC/DC, you don't get that. You don't get Back in Black. You don't get Highway to Hell. You don't get Carry On in the first couple of seasons.
Right.
Yeah. If you're watching
I
it on Prime.
just watched the first 2 and I was like, oh, they didn't have it in then.
No. If you stream them off the dodgy up north sites, it is on there, and on the DVDs.
On the DVD,
because on the Blu-rays I've got, it's still got them on. Because that's what I remember. I think it was on Netflix as well, but they used to have it on Netflix where that song was on. That's why I was getting really confused. Because that blew me away when I first watched the first season. Because I didn't know, I never heard of fucking Kansas. So I was like, get me this song now.
It's an Adam Sandler song. So Adam Sandler uses that song quite a lot in his films. It's always in there. Like you hear it in Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, all of his earlier stuff. That song will always be in there.
I didn't realize how much of an impact the music had until we started watching it again on Prime, and it was different. I was like, it's not the same at all.
Yeah.
No.
Like I didn't realize how much it affected the music. But I didn't realize how good the editing was until the music was changed as well, which is really weird.
Right.
Because the way that the way, especially in the last seasons, when you get the montage of previously on Supernatural, and then you get Carry On My Wayward Son playing, and the scenes of building up to it, that edited to fit in with that, the beats and everything of the song so well. You don't realize until it's not there.
I totally get what you mean. It has such an impact. It's amazing how a song has such an impact on what you're watching. Ooh, I did not know that did not. I was wondering because I can't remember how I watched it originally. I can't remember. It was definitely on a streaming service, but remember at the time, streaming services are not like what we have right now. But I did have access to the dodgy side of the internet, so it could have been through there.
There was always a code you could put in to get the American Netflix, and the American Netflix always had the better stuff. And Supernatural was on the American Netflix, where the British one had Blackadder for some reason, Blackadder, and the UK office, and then you went on the American, you had Supernatural and shit. So of course you were putting that in and getting letters off Sky saying you were using illegal stuff. But yes, I was getting me Supernatural fix, so I didn't care. But there's again so many different things. Like as Charlotte was saying, the episode with the trickster when all the gods were there was done so well. I'd say that was entertaining. And Dean's watching the sex day of the busty Asians, and then the trickster wasn't the Asian one for this one. It was the Spanish, wasn't it? Because he had a Spanish tash. The trickster he was in the porn video, and then, like I say, tells him what's going to happen next, and goes on to you see them, and you see Sam and Dean's reaction to go, "Oh, turn that off now." But are you ready to talk about the last season? So we can give the spoiler warnings now.
Yeah, I'll do what we did on the Brooklyn Nine-Nine one because that worked well. Just pause, spoiling right now.
Yes.
If you don't want to listen, don't listen.
Yeah, if you've not seen the last season, go and watch it now. And then come back. Come back and listen.
So come back and watch me cry.
So if you're watching from now on, it's all on yous, not on us. We are spoiling now.
Yes, but even though it has been out quite a while, so it's
and I've actually not seen it either. I haven't seen it, but I do know how it ends. And I was just saying to Paul, it wasn't a case of the internet ruined it for us. I went out my way to go and look because I needed to know how it ended. Because I've always, for all I haven't watched it, I have tried to keep on top of like Sam and Dean and what they were doing. Yeah. So I needed to know how it ended. But I want to hear you talk about it, because when I'm just watching it from that scene and that scene alone, and not getting a lot from it, so I would love to hear how you felt about it.
It wasn't just the last scene. It was the last season trying to put right a lot of. Well, it's had 15 seasons. Mm-hmm. A lot of shows don't get 15 seasons. There's been a lot of shit. There's been a lot of brilliant stuff. There's been a lot of characters that you loved, and it tried to put a lot of that right. Because with the end of the season before, they brought back pretty much everyone from the dead. Like Charlie was back, Bobby was back, like Dean's mother was back, and like I said, brought Jack in, who was Lucifer's son. It was just over infused with too many characters. Yeah. And you kind of went, what matters now? We've watched 14 seasons, and everything we've just watched, nothing gives a fuck about, because they've just basically brought everyone back. And it's kind of like, I don't care anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah. They tried to bring the formula back as well. It wasn't all the way through the season, but they sort of brought back like a monster a week, little episodes, like a monster a week episodes. Like it wasn't the full season, because obviously they had another story to tell, but there were more of them than had been in previous seasons.
But what I loved about it as well, it explained elements that, as I said before, didn't make sense to me, how Dean and Sam become superhuman and can fight angels and demons. The premise of the last season is basically God had been using, like Chuck had been using Sam and Dean as their own play toys. And in writing his book, he's been looking out for them, giving them special treatment. Right. And out of all the worlds he built, they were his favourite. And they'd got pissed off with singing to God's tune and went, fuck you. We're just doing everything our own now. And God went, right, I'm not going to support you anymore. So then you saw Sam and Dean losing fights, fights that normally would win. He was taking things away that they loved, like characters that they brought back. He was taking them away in this season. But as Charlotte said, in between that, they brought the Monster of the Week back. They explained Cass and Dean's relationship perfectly as well. It was so beautifully done, like to the point where, again, even if they said, I know it sounds strange, even if they said they were in a gay relationship, I would have been happy, because it was so beautifully. Like, say when, like say, Cass goes, he says, "I love you," and Dean says, "I love you too," and it was just so lovely and spot on. But leading up to the final episode, where the battling God, it's just so intriguing. Like, how do you fight God? and going through that emotions where Sam and Dean kind of, this time Sam's the one trying to pick Dean up and try and carry Dean through, because Dean just give up. Dean's just like, how do you fight God?
Yeah.
Not just that, I think for me, their journey in the final season is one of the most interesting, because they're like, for however many 14 seasons, whatever, their whole thing has been, we're making a difference, we're saving people, this is why we're going through what we're going through, this is why we've literally been to hell and back, lost everybody we love, we're saving people, we're changing lives. And then God basically turns around and says, well, you don't necessarily have to do this, I'm just bored and I need a bit of entertainment, this is why it's happening. And for them to suddenly realize, like, it's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's not making a difference, it's just because somebody's bored. Like, them coming to terms with that in the last season is really, really good to watch.
I've got no comment because I've not seen it.
But yeah, like, and as I said, the relationships grow. I think make Jack a more pivotal role. I don't know if you've been introduced to Jack yet. He's a character that we didn't need.
All right. Okay.
No, we didn't.
But they get rid of, like, as I said, the season before that, they get rid of, like, Mary again. So they bring her back and take her away without much.
Mary's story actually had a different ending, but they had to rewrite it because the woman that plays her, I can't remember her name, who plays her, Samantha something, who plays her, actually found out she had breast cancer not long before.
All right.
Oh, wow.
So they wrote a different ending for her.
Right, okay. I did not know that, but that makes a bit more sense now, because I didn't understand why they would bring, like I say, that Sam and Dean's mother back, only to take away in, like I say, quite brutal way as well.
Quite an abrupt ending, I think, as well. But yeah, I think she was supposed to be in it for a bit longer, but they wrote her out.
Yeah,
that's sad.
But then the problems, what happened with the filming, like with COVID and stuff like that. I know they couldn't do everything that they wanted to do, but again, one of the things that I'm always going to be gutted about and be a bit like salty about is the way that they treat Mark Sheppard, like his ending to this, because he left 2 seasons before with going through the multiverse. Because multiverse with being supernatural, the multiverse plays a part. So it does actually. But they put him in Lucifer in like one of the alternative worlds, and Lucifer kills him. But they don't bring him back. They don't give him like a big hurrah. They do give, like I say, Rowena a spectacular. She gets treated amazingly in the last season. She just is one of the standout performers. But again, the way they underplayed the last episode was done perfectly, because the last episode that you thought was going to be the battle between Dean and like the Winchesters and God. It's not. It's done an episode before, and it finishes it nicely where it makes sense how they beat God, and it gives them that good clean break. So they do a next episode, and I hope I do this jump in any time, Charlotte. You
get like a season finale, and then you get
an additional
show finale. Like you get like season 50 done, good. And then you get Supernatural's ending, if that makes sense.
It does massively. Go on. I'm listening.
It brings it full circle.
Yeah, so they go into a hunt, like normal hunt, just a few non-big bad guys, anything they can deal with, and Dean gets pushed up against a spike, and you see the spike beforehand, and Dean's like there, and you see the spike go through his chest, and you see the realization in Dean's face, and it's because God's not looking after them anymore.
Yeah,
they're not getting that support. So basically, these two blokes shouldn't have lived as long as they had without God's support. And Sam realizes it, and he's like, "Oh," and Dean's like, "No, this time I'm good."
Yeah, leave it.
Yeah, and I say that like the look in both the eyes and the speech, and seeing like Sam going into panic mode and Dean at peace.
The way it's shot as well, the audience realizes before they do, because you see the spike and it goes into his back, and then you see Dean realize, and Sam doesn't know, and then Sam realizes, so we know before they do, and it's shot really well. But and
then Sam lets him go, and then we get like a montage, which again, it's not like a Rocky montage where it's got like a killer soundtrack and like run up the steps of Sam's life after Dean, where Sam continues to be a hunter, gets married, has a kid who becomes a hunter, because he's seen getting the tattoos and everything, and Sam passing away at old age due to sickness.
Just in his bed as an old
this
man.
is the bit I've seen. So
Yeah.
I have seen not the montage, but it's literally Sam dying and then the car.
Yeah, and then the meeting
Dean.
up. Yeah. And then I think the ending was apparently meant to be where they were going to go through, like, everyone, see like Bobby, see the winch, like his mum and dad, see Cass, and go through. But due to COVID, they couldn't get the people that they wanted, so they just done it downplayed, and they played it with characters that they thought would have worked better. And it does. A lot of people said they were underwhelmed, but it was so understated, but we needed that, because any other way, if they went out any other way, it wouldn't have worked as well.
Yeah, it's the "Hey Sammy," only I was like, when I watched it, I like, bearing in mind I had no context at all as to why Dean was there in the first place. Like, yes, I guess Sam died of old age, but I had no context whatsoever. But just hearing him say it, like, brought it probably like I was going, oh. But do you not think that Dean, like, when, I mean, you can correct us if I'm wrong, but Dean not just being at peace, just knowing that if he stuck around, or that, you know, trying to help him, that he would kind of, like, Sam wouldn't have a life that he ends up having, because he would always be with Dean.
But that was always going to be Dean's outcome, though.
Always going to be Dean.
Because he never wanted anything like that. I know that he had a few fittings, but he never fit in normal society. Yeah. And that's not Dean's fault. That could be down to his dad a little bit, but it was the ending Dean needed to have. And like I said, Dean didn't want to go through his life hunting as well. Yeah. Because you tell that he'd been beaten down, he'd lost everything except from Sam. Yeah. And that was kind of like a gift to Sam to say, go on, you do it. That's such
a nice way of putting it, a gift. I mean, even on the third series, he's got a year to live, and he's tired then. Yeah. And he's accepted his fate. Like, I 15 think he always,
fucking seasons.
He eventually does it, but it's like he always seems to accept his fate, even if he doesn't get the outcome.
Yeah, for me, like, having watched it from the first time it aired in the UK, for me, like, having fallen in love with it and fallen out of love with it and fallen back in love with it, it was the ending I would have written as a fan. Like, for me, it was, yes, I would have liked to see a few more, like, guest stars and stuff, but given when it was filmed, it was understandable. It was perfect. Like, but again, the attention to detail in the series, the last shot is of them on a bridge wearing very, very similar outfits to the first ever episode, which started on a bridge.
To be fair, they didn't change many outfits for this.
No, their costumes were very the same, weren't they?
But like, it was almost identical, and it was it was perfect. I cried like a baby through the whole thing. Like, we'd been making jokes, and I was like, unless an animal dies, I don't really cry.
Yeah.
Not like me then.
And we were like, I'll get a lump in my throat and I'll be like, oh, that's sad, but and we were making jokes, and Kev was like, you're gonna cry. I was like, I'm not, I'm gonna be fine. Put it on, 10 minutes in till the very end of the episode, and about an hour afterwards, born like a baby.
Welcome to my world. That's me on a regular basis.
And I really didn't expect to, but not just the last episode, the whole last series really, really did bring it back. Like, I stopped watching it about season 11, I think, was the last season I watched, like, as it came out.
Yeah. We started, like I say, not waiting until the season's finished, but binging half seasons. So rather than waiting, because the earlier seasons we were like, it's out on a Sunday night, so we're watching it on Monday, like streaming, where we were like waiting for a few episodes. I think it was after the Leviathan season that we kind of didn't lose track, but just kept on. Like, what was, because to be fair, we invested like nearly 10 years watching this shit.
It's the first series that I've walked away from. Like it is really the first series I walked away from, because Walking Dead, I have invested 10 bit years of my life into that show, and I cannot stand it, but I cannot stop watching it because of me investment in it. But Supernatural was the first one I walked away from, and I generally wish I didn't. But I remember how I felt towards it when we walked away. It was like, it was same old, and I was like, if I continue watching, I'm going to end up hating it.
Season 11 for me was the reason why I stopped watching it, was because it was the first time it felt like hard work to watch it. Like I wasn't enjoying it. I was just watching it because I'd watched it for so long, and I was like, this isn't the point of it. And then I actually didn't pick it back up again until they announced that it was ending. And I was like, right, I need to see how this ends. So I watched sort of season 12 up until like the last season, and then watched it sort of as it came out. So I was ready for the last step. I thought I was ready for the last episode.
Clearly you were not.
I don't think you're ever going to be ready to say goodbye to them, but I think it was done in a way that you could accept it. And I think a lot of shows are, as you said, scared to end the TV show, especially after 15 seasons, or know how to end it. But they weren't ever going to make all the fans happy, because I know there was a big shitstorm saying it was so underwhelming and stuff like that. Because I know a lot of the hardcore Supernatural groups are venomous when it comes to the feedback, or anyone who dares say anything negative about Supernatural. It's like
didn't listen to this then.
It's like the Star Wars. No, like I've got a lot of love for it. I'll take the piss and joke about stuff like that. But again,
there's a reason we watch it. Like there's a reason we've watched it all. It's not a case of hating it. You can still have open discussions about the rights and wrongs of it.
Exactly. It's like that with any show though, isn't it? Like to really enjoy it, you've got to recognize that not all of it's perfect.
Exactly.
But you can still enjoy it, you can still love it.
Yeah. But again, going back to favourite episodes as well, not like say the last season, but we'll give it a brief mention, but that play episode, the kids play, when they're going through the like say the Supernatural and as musical.
The music and that is beautiful. The cover of Wayward Son in that is
towards the end,
gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
It's really slow it down, isn't it?
But it brings back beats as well that you kind of forgot about. Like you forgot about the third Winchester son who had been locked in the pit, Adam, for so long. And it reminds you that, and it brings him back in later on, even though he doesn't really play much of a part. But it kind of like things that you don't think about. It's just giving you a nice little reminder. It's like that shit's still there.
Yeah.
Adam for me was a weird character, because I always felt like they brought Adam in just to sacrifice him.
Yeah,
that was the only reason he was there. And I felt like he could have been a bit more, like he could have given a bit more to like Sam and Dean's relationship. Like suddenly they've got another brother, but they never explored that, because they just sort of brought him in to put him in the cage.
I was going to say that's got to be a hard one for them too to swallow, given that they've just thought there was each other.
Yeah.
And then there's another one.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting to explore.
They never really went into too much. It kind of like, as Charlotte said, it was like a thought to say, right, this is our get out with jail free card now for this aspect. But again, it's always a difficult one with the Winchesters, because they do something then you think this is going to be irreversible, like Sam's breakdown, where if he remembered what he went to in hell, being tortured by Lucifer, his brain couldn't handle it, and he was going to melt. And that suddenly was just forgotten when apparently he got fixed when even death couldn't fix it. So
if
we can't fix it, it just didn't happen.
And they completely forgot about from like the second or third episode, I think it is. They just completely forgot that to tell when somebody's possessed, you just say Christo.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about that. That would have helped them so much in the later seasons. It really would.
Like I say, Sam stopped moping after Jessica for a while as well. Like I say, she was forgotten.
He got over her quickly.
And she was a bonny lass, bless her.
But coming back to that, actually, the episode where Sam truly gets over her and gets with somebody else is one of the most heartbreaking episodes ever.
Yeah, it was quite a sweet
one. It's the first werewolf episode when he has to kill her at the end.
Yeah.
We've just watched it today.
What season is it?
Two or three.
Maybe.
Wow.
It's called Heart.
I have a lot on at work.
Because they think they can cure her and none of the cures work. Yeah.
And they have to shoot her at the end, and Sam, you don't actually see Sam shoot her, you just see it from Dean. The music right at the end is perfect. You just see that one tear fall from Dean's face, and then just the gunshot.
Yeah.
It's one of the best endings to a TV show I've seen, in general.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
That's the thing with Supernatural. I know, like I said, as I said, you're not going to put yourself in that situation. It's impossible because these things kind of don't they might be real, but we don't know. But we're not going to be say hunters or anything like that. But there are some questions.
Are we? I was going to say we've got the outfit going on.
I'll be knee good. Don't worry, I wouldn't last long. But
would you be scared, Dean?
I'd be scared, Dean. I'd just be rocking in the corner crying. But there are some questionable decisions to make throughout. I know later on when Dean kills Sam's friend, the Jewel out of Firefly, who's a monster, but was just trying to look after a sick kid. But Dean won't listen to Sam as a reaction, as that's just good, and he just takes her out. And that again, Winchester's doing what Winchesters do, bring them back to life and lying to each other. It's kind of like the story for the 15 seasons. But there's some decisions that you do question, why they do and stuff like that, because it's not Sam or Dean. Some of them that they do, you don't think knowing the characters would have made through the season. But again, it's just to try and make it a bit more complex, I guess in ways.
I think at the heart of the show, though, good or bad, 15 seasons in, the heart of the show is family, and it really makes you question what you would do to protect the people you love.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably why the show got 15 seasons out of it.
Yeah.
And the amount of love they have for their fan base.
Yeah.
is they always keep, when Jared Padalecki came out and said, look, this is what's been going on, and he was really honest about his mental health struggles and stuff. The fan base rallied around him because of how much love they give the fan base.
I didn't realize he had a struggle.
They started the Always Keep Fighting campaign. There's t-shirts and Misha Collins, is it Gish that Misha Collins does?
Yes.
That all stemmed from Jared Padalecki coming out and saying, look, I'm struggling.
I know they had a lot to do with Stephen Amell's campaign of Fuck Cancer.
Yeah.
They would go backwards and forwards between campaigns between the two of them. It was lovely. It was that was a proper outreach of community. That was really, it was so lovely and heartwarming to see. You wanted to be involved in it, you wanted to be a part of it. They are just come across as genuinely lovely people.
Yes, but like I say, I think it's on that note we'll wrap up quite nicely. A
lot of love, because it is a series that can divide opinions.
Well, to be fair, like I say, it's as high-end fantasy and horror. It's got loads of different aspects that goes from the absurd opening doors to Oz, to as you said, trying to save your family. But again, as Charlotte said, that is the main story. What would you do for your family, and how far would you go? And again, it's what's been instilled with John Winchester as well. Even when they go back in time and see young John Winchester, or see Grandar Winchester and stuff like that.
Grandpa Winchester.
How good was he? Just briefly, how good was Grandpa Winchester? Samuel. Oh, he was brilliant.
But yeah, again, I think it's a show that will age well as well. It's not one of them ones where you think, oh, in 10 years, 15 years time, it'll not be quite, because there was nothing, I would say, controversial about it.
No, not at all.
It was just fun and something that you can take your mind off and just enjoy.
It started in 2005. And that was 17 years ago, and I've just gone and watched the first episode, the first series and second series, and it still holds up 17 years later. It's the bloody filter that's on there. It's like, it gets us, because I know that's not what I'm used to seeing from a supernatural show, but honestly, the writing of it, the character building, the character development from like even like episode 1 is it's really strong, and you can see where it's going to go. So and that's 17 years ago.
Yeah, and I've just remembered the scariest episode. I've totally forgot. I probably blanked out in my mind, the Scarecrow one.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, that was No, that wasn't Who Command, was it?
No, it was a Scarecrow when, like, say, the couples went and like the apples picking.
Oh, when he's like a pagan god and they're sacrificing,
yeah.
Isn't he? Yeah,
that was fucking hell. Sorry.
I think, but no, though, because that's good though, because that was in like one of maybe even season 1, and at the time there wasn't a lot of horror TV shows out there that were scaring you.
Yeah,
and I think if it wasn't for Supernatural, a lot of the horror TV shows we've got since then we wouldn't have got.
No,
and to finish off, always remember the tagline: "When scary got sexy."
When scary got sexy. That is going to be the tag of this podcast. But
it should be, yeah.
When scary got sexy. I cannot remember. I'm gonna have to go and like hunt the ITV archives on YouTube and see if I can find that promo.
It was, yeah.
Jesus.
There's fucking posters all over the place with Supernatural just saying "scary got sexy," and a picture of the Winchester boys.
I mean, I wouldn't have disagreed with them.
No. It was a good selling point.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, sorry, I cut you off, Charlotte. I wanted to get that back. What were you going to say there?
Yeah. I can't remember what I was saying now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That I think we have to thank Supernatural for the direction horror TV took after that, because it proved that horror TV shows could be just as popular.
And also, it didn't have to be. It can still be a PG. Horror can still have a PG element to it where everyone can enjoy it, as opposed to having gory and slashy shit.
Yeah, I had genuinely forgotten how little gore there was in the first few seasons, like compared to the later ones. There was hardly anything.
The first time I noticed it was series 3 when the guy drank the bleach.
But then they start getting like excited over blood spatter. Like, have you noticed that then every episode started with a blood spatter?
The first time I noticed a bit of gore or a bit of was when the other hunter, when the demons come in and tell him that he has to drink the bleach, and he is, and then you see the after effect, and that's like the first time I went, that's gross.
Is that the 7 Deadly Sins episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've literally just watched it this afternoon. Yeah. It's the first time. It's when Bobby goes, "We've never faced anything like this in this magnitude," and I'm like, "Good God, really?"
Well,
there's like I say, all different elements. Like I always thought the witch episodes were always the more gory ones and gruesome, because like say, they always used to make people like bring something up from the throats. Like,
bitches.
I always remember was it one of the first witch episodes with the razor blades in her mouth?
Yeah.
She starts coughing them up.
It was always on the like this side, but it never went like as far as like say the True Bloods or like say as anything as gory as that. But I think that's why it stayed where it did as long as it has, just because it wasn't ever going to push the boundaries too far. But I still would go back to Supernatural, and I would still recommend people to watch Supernatural if you like say the sci-fi or even the supernatural element, because
folklore.
Seasons. I've been so shocked at the outreach on the Facebook group of not just like saying I'm going to watch it for the first time, I'm going to go and rewatch it. I'm like that post on Supernatural, it was like a week ago or something, before we even decided to do this episode tonight. It was like it just blew up. I was like, bloody hell, like you don't, and I think that's when I started watching it. I was like, okay, I'm jumping on this bandwagon.
Yeah.
It was all because the Winchester boys took the shirts off. That's all it is. All these thirsty
got
ladies.
Sexy.
I'm not going to lie, it helps.
There's a reason why Kev put a towel down before her as well.
I'm just he's moved it. It was there.
yes.
It definitely helps you get through some of the later seasons.
Yes.
Just focus on the faces and just don't pay attention to anything else.
To be fair, like I said, I'm sure there was a season where in every episode Sam took his shirt off. It was the time when he got buff. You'll notice it. I think it was the time when Dean comes back from hell.
It is. It's the first. It's the first season. It's funnily enough, it's the first season with his wife in it now. When they bring Ruby back, dark-haired Ruby.
Yeah,
it's that season
because
he spends like the first 3 or 4 episodes just cheerless.
Yeah,
it makes sense. But after what he'd said today, where he was like, he did everything he could to just grab her attention because she just was not interested. So that's what he did.
Just got cheerless and wrote it in the show.
But Sam went from like because he was always a big lad, but he was quite thin, but he got buff. You'll notice it. He goes all moose on you.
It's funny actually because in some of the interviews he gave after he started speaking about his mental health, he said that was a way of coping with it. So if you watch the show, the seasons where he gets noticeably bigger and more in shape are the seasons where he was struggling more with his mental health.
Bless him.
So it's kind of more noticeable if you know that as well.
Well, it's going to be now.
Yeah.
You pointed it out.
But yes, so thanks again, Charlotte and Sam, for coming on today. Like I said, doing a little bit of a special episode, a double parter. You'll be sick of the sight of us now.
I know we've pretty much spent all weekend together.
But not together at the same time, which is always a strange thing. But yeah, I've always got time to speak about Supernatural. I'm sure there's about loads of stuff we've probably missed out.
Oh, definitely. I say this won't be the first time or the last time that we talk about Supernatural. Most definitely.
Anything you just want to add before we wrap up there?
I'm hungry.
Thank you for finally letting me do this.
Unleashing the beast there, but no, it's fine.
We want to talk about this for so long now.
I'm surprised you haven't even put in with black contact lenses or something like that to just try and freak us out.
I should have. I don't think I've got any.
There'll be a filter there, but yeah. So again, everyone who's tuned in, watched us, thank you for watching the Brooklyn Nine-Nine, now watching this one. This will go up on iTunes and Spotify probably tomorrow. And wherever else it does find its own place, follow us on YouTube, Nerdy Up North, on Facebook, the Nerdy Up North community. We've got the Nerdy Up North book club now. That's people are starting to take, and I've seen a lot of posts there talking about quite a lot of books. A lot more things to come. Again, we've been talking with a local company as well to potentially see if we can do a live podcast where we're all going to be in the same room, which will be probably interesting. See who gets hit first. Probably me. Probably me. So it's probably a good.
It'll be. I guarantee it'll be Kev.
But yeah. So next week we're back. We've got the lovely Kelly returning, and we're going to talk about movie soundtracks. So we're going back to the top 5s. So I'll have to do some research for this one because it's, and I probably will have to go back over a few movies I've picked. So
me too, because I only have one movie soundtrack that I live by, so I'm going to have to go and listen to some more.
But same bat time, same bat guys.
Say nerdy everyone. Bye.
Bye.